Hi, welcome to Garden Theory. Today we're going to be talking about the world of horticulture. And if you've never heard of horticulture before, then this is a video for you. A big part of why I created this channel is that I wanted to teach people more about horticulture, especially as a career aspect for those of us who are a little bit younger entering the workforce. It's a great career that a lot of times doesn't get as recognized as others. But here in the green industry, we have a lot of opportunities for jobs. And I kind of want to go over that today in today's video. And hopefully by the end of it, you can learn a little bit more about horticulture and whether or not it would be a good career and job option for you. Now, if you're not familiar with horticulture, horticulture is a subset of agriculture. And a lot of times, things that come to mind when you think of agriculture, you think of things like cattle and crop production. So, horticulture can be divided into four categories that we'll dive into. The first one is pomology, which deals with fruit cultivation. The second one is olericulture, which is vegetable production. The third one is ornamental horticulture, which can also be referred to as floriculture, and that has to deal with things like lawn care, landscape architecture, along those lines. And then the fourth and final one is arboriculture, which has to deal with tree production, the maintaining of trees and shrubs. And so those are the four categories of horticulture. I wanted to talk about some of the challenges that the green industry face. So some of the challenges, as you see in this graphic I shared with you, which is from the Seed Your Future program, which is, you can look at their website, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But some of the issues that we have with horticulture, especially with younger generations, as it states here, 1,000 different logos and brands can be recognized by the average, I'm assuming US citizen, but less than fewer than 10 plants can be identified by people. As well as a big problem with our educational system is that by the third grade, most schools stop having classes about horticulture. I know for me, I remember in elementary school, we would do an experiment with growing a bean out of a bag with a damp paper towel. But since that point, you really stop focused on horticulture, even though it's such a big, important aspect of our lives. And 0% of middle schoolers have stated in surveys that they've never heard of the word horticulture. So no one really knows about it. And because of that, no one really thinks about that when they're looking for jobs. Most people are thinking of software engineers and doctors, but we really do need horticulture people and agriculture people in general. And so there's a severe workforce gap currently. And I believe I've seen a few studies where the average age of someone in the agriculture industry is like in their 50s, like 55, 56. And so within 10 to 20 years, I mean, the majority of the workforce is going to be getting towards their retirement age. And so there's going to be a huge need of highly qualified workers. And so there's an ever growing demand for people in this industry. So it's very easy to get a job in the industry in horticulture. As long as you're, especially if you're educated, I mean, you're almost guaranteed to get a well paying job here in the near future. But in the progress in the last couple years, as it shows here, there's been a recent intake of people being more interested in the environment. More people want to be contributing to make the world a better place and a greener place, getting more interested in native plants. There's been a growth of schools going into school gardens and stuff, as well as a lot of youth are being a lot more involved with climate change. And so a lot of opportunities are starting to come up where people are more interested in learning about horticulture, which this is the biggest thing we can use to fight climate change and the destruction to our environment. All right. So I always like to share a good website or a tip per video. And this is a great website that I recommend. I actually use them in part of my research for this video. That's called seedyourfuture.org. And you can go over, I believe, over to resources, students, and then horticulture careers right there. But definitely explore all these other tabs that they have. They also have a job board in horticulture jobs, which you can look at by state. But this is a great place to start off when you're just learning about horticulture for the first time. They have a little blurb over each kind of part of horticulture because there's so many different aspects of horticulture. Just like it says here, it's an art, technology, business, education, and science of plants. It's the food we eat and the landscapes we live and play. There's so much to it, not only from an environmental side, but from a science side. There's so many different options in horticulture. It's probably one of the most diverse, careers in the green collar industry. And so you can look into this list. So if you want to be like a floral designer, you can come over here. I know they have a lot of videos with actual people in the field. Yeah, they have testimonials on most of these. So if you want to know some firsthand experience from some people, I mean, this is probably one of the greatest websites you can go to learn about this stuff. So if you want to be an agronomist, which is crop science, they have all this stuff. What do you need to learn on average for the degree, or just to get the job that you want? So this is probably one of the greatest resources you can go into during your first time learning about horticulture. So I definitely recommend to check out the rest of this page on Seed Your Future. At this time, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit. So my background in horticulture started when I went to BYU, Idaho, when I first learned about horticulture when I took a class into landscape design, and ever since then I've always been hooked into it. Something about it just always connected with me with my love for nature growing up in the Ozarks, to also trying to find a viable career that would be something that I genuinely enjoyed. And so I really loved my time at BYU, Idaho. It's one of the best schools to go into horticulture. While I was there, we went to NCLC, which is the national competition, where I was able to win fourth place in irrigation troubleshooting. All right. And so when I went to school to study horticulture, I went to BYU, Idaho, which has a great program, especially in ornamental horticulture. And so if that's something you want to pursue, this is a list of some schools that participated in the National Collegiate Landscape Competition, which is hosted by the National Associations of Landscape Professionals, all right here. And I actually participated in this event back in 2022. And at that time, my school got fourth place. This is the results for the current year where my school got fourth place again. And BYU proper got first place like they usually do. And so BYU is a really great school. For ornamental horticultures, as well as this community college, which I believe is based in Ohio. Colorado State's really good. Really, I would say the top 10 to 20 schools on this list are all super good schools if you want to learn a lot about ornamental horticulture. So I would recommend, honestly, any of these schools. But of course, I'll play some favoritism and definitely recommend BYU as a great school to go to. So now, after explaining a little bit about what horticulture is, I wanted to dive into why it's so important. I kind of briefly mentioned about the ever-growing age gap and the ever-growing need for it, but I haven't talked too much about the need itself. So I kind of want to just go over a few reasons why horticulture is so important. Horticulture, along with agriculture, fills, grocery stores with food that is safe and nutritious. It's the very foundation of what everyone needs in their day to day life. Food's very important, the whole aspect of production, as well as environmentally, preserving habitats, restoring ecological things that were destroyed through human destruction or pollution. It's a very much of a climate change fighter. And also, there's the whole landscape architect side of things, imagining our landscapes to become better places. You hear a lot of people complain about how car centric America is. Well, landscape architecture for people is the first step into changing that, as well as maintaining those landscapes, understanding how landscapes, as well as environmental and ecological preserves, are to be maintained, understanding how that works, because it's very complex, as well as is floriculture, knowing how to create flower arrangements, as well as just learning more about the world that we actually live in. So much of the foundation is plants, and it goes unnoticed by so many. So many people, like I stated earlier in that graph, less than 10 plants can be identified by the average person. And there are thousands of different native plants, all that come together in an ecosystem just in your one area. So there's so much that there is to learn about it. And so, in order to have all these things happen, we need people that are interested in it. That's why so much of the workforce is from either out of the country that are brought in, which there's nothing wrong with that. But in the future, as we have less and less qualified, especially educated people in the workforce, like there's going to be such a demand for it. And that's why you see a lot of industries now even going into the robotic mowers, because people don't want to mow lawns, and that's not the only thing in horticulture. There's so many different parts. But when you don't even have the foundation in, there's nothing for anything to be built further upon. And so it's such a huge issue, and it'll be interesting to see how we resolve these issues in the future. But there's a lot of opportunity that can be made. Horticulture isn't like a huge money maker industry. It's not going to be like you're going to be super rich or anything, but it's the foundation to everything, and you can make a decent earnings off of it, especially in the future as demand grows more and more for it. So I highly recommend that you, at the very least, especially if you're younger listening to this video, to at least go into that website, Seed Your Future, and do a little bit of exploration if it's something you're interested in. There's so much variety in horticulture. It's one of the greatest things. You can learn about one thing and then switch over to another whole different aspect if you wanted to. Those are just my thoughts. Alright guys, I think that's going to be it for this video. Thank you if you were able to watch the video up to this point. I hope it was informative to you on this introduction into the world of horticulture. It's something that I'm definitely very passionate about, and hopefully we'll be able to express that passion to you in every episode every week. But if you liked the video, feel free to comment what you liked about it or anything that I might have missed about it or maybe said wrong. And I'll make sure to read and respond to any corrections that need to be made. But I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you would like to like and comment down as well as subscribing, that's going to help the channel a lot, as well as watching one of our other 5 videos that we have already posted. It helps the algorithm a lot to promote this channel to other people who may be interested. I'm hoping to reach out especially to the younger audience who may not have heard of horticulture before. So definitely share it with anyone you think would be interested in learning about it, as well as definitely checking out Seed Your Future. I believe it's .org or .com. But it's a great website. I'll have the link down in the description, but definitely check it out if you're interested in the industry. The green collared industry is a wonderful place to work for. Down to earth people. It's definitely something I love, working in the ornamental horticulture side of things. But we'll talk about that in another episode. But until then, hope you all have a wonderful day, and remember to plant a seed of kindness today. So thank you all for watching.